Hey, Peter.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Hey, thanks for joining, my man.
Give up on you. I didn't. Uh, I thought there might be no meeting.
Yeah, I was late dropping my wife off. She went up to go see a funeral in the making up in Portland. Her aunt is dying, and so she went to go see her, and I got back about 15 minutes late from the airport. So sorry about that. Um, so I've got the kids for Thanksgiving by myself. I'm gonna have to figure out whether I take them to Boston Market or to a neighbor's or whatever, um, but we'll survive. Um, thanks for joining though. We'll make it short and definitely give yourself the point. So how are things going with the class?
Uh, for me personally, they're going pretty smoothly. I did not do well at all on this last test.
Okay.
No real big surprise based on what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
I do plan on doing the appeal, but overall my grade is very. I think is very good right now, and I'm going to fight to keep it what it is.
Yeah. So that's exam 4, right? That you just took.
Correct.
Exam number 4. Is that right? Okay. And when I'm getting my dates confused. When is the appeal process over with?
I haven't checked, but I would assume it's uh, the uh, by Monday or Tuesday next week, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it goes into, yeah, early part of next week. I think that sounds about right. Okay. So yeah, I just want to make sure I keep on top of it. Do you feel like because of the holiday, I should extend it a little bit?
I would assume there are people in our course that are traveling in that. They would probably appreciate the extra day or two to do it. I mean, I'm at home with my parents, so I'm going to be just turning it in as quickly as possible. Pretty sure, yeah, someone would really benefit from it.
Okay. I'm going to try to, yeah, see if I can't maybe extend that out a little bit. See if I'll add a few days and make that announcement just so it doesn't like hit right on Monday where people are like just kind of getting back and going, holy cow, I got an exam appeal, I got to file. So, okay. Okay. Maybe while I'm thinking about it, let me see if I can do that. What about like your group and stuff like that? Still working out okay? Everybody being nice
Yeah,
to you?
we are meeting up every week. Again, it's the early morning,
Yeah.
but coming prepared, we talk about what are different examples, and we try to hash out a quiz question
Yeah.
within an hour because it could take a while if we don't really get down to it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's okay. But people are getting along and stuff like that. I mean, at this point in the semester with the holidays coming, sometimes the tempers are short and stuff like that. So people are still behaving themselves.
From what it looks like, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, let me look. Yeah, I'm just looking at the. Last submission. Appeal for exam 4. Last submission. Weird. I want to make sure this thing that like gives enough time for people. So appeal for exam 4. Edit submission folder. How have you been finding like this week's material with antitrust and intellectual property?
It's been a page turner, I have to admit. Took economics about 3 semesters ago, and I'm seeing how monopolies and what they're, I mean, what a lot of what's been being discussed, giving me a flashback to what I learned then too, and sort of together in a unique way. I find it pretty unique. That yeah, I just find the topics quite interesting to learn about. I just finished the chapters about half hour ago, and I've been watching the videos. Amen. Up.
Yeah, I tried to get some videos in there. Hopefully that would help people. You know,
those are good videos.
It's helpful a little bit helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Because it's there, you know, it's tough. Intellectual property shows up really early in the Constitution. I mean, the founding fathers and mothers of our country, I mean, they thought it was important enough to put near the front of the Constitution, like, hey, if you're gonna spend time on an invention, you should be able to profit from it without other people stealing it and, you know, overwhelming you by, and I guess that must have been a problem in England or somewhere, you know, in the Middle Ages maybe, where kings would get some peasant's invention, just, you know, trod them over and by virtue of the riches that they had, be able to just steal what, you know, overwhelm them. So it was important enough to tell them, look, if you file it properly, we'll give you a chance to really, we'll incent you to be able to make yourself wealthy on it for a time, and then we'll release it for the common competition, so that everybody can fight for, you know, the best product out of it. But it's kind of an interesting idea of a legal monopoly, intellectual property. But on the other hand, you know, then you have antitrust, which is when people like Peter Criddle becomes way too powerful, like an Amazon, you know, or in the days in 1903, like, you know, the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and stuff, they owned everything. The government felt like, you know, they could make so many you know, under the table deals that nobody could even compete with them. The government felt like they needed to pass legislation to kind of stop all the tying arrangements and the, you know, the monopolization of stuff, so that you know, price fixing, gouging and stuff, so that, you know, Peter couldn't come in and just, by virtue of you being a multi-billionaire and having the same brand of toothpaste that I was selling, be able to undercut me by, you know, 50%, so that putting me out of business, and then you would just triple your price and make back everything when I was out of business and couldn't compete with you. And it's some people hate antitrust laws or competition laws. They think it screws, you know, it's a regulation that messes with the natural flow of the market. Like, you studied economics, you know, shouldn't Adam Smith's, you know, invisible hand just take care of that problem? But so, I mean, you and I could debate it, or people can debate it for years, like, shouldn't you just let it run? But look at Amazon today. I mean, Intel right now, my company, is building a chip that is powerful enough to fly a drone that we're helping them build, that will bring you know, even a pickup truck right from Amazon's warehouse to Peter's door and deliver it to you if you buy it on Amazon, and thus not have to worry about the middleman. go to a dealership to buy it, and all the dealerships know about it. Now they're all upset because they've paid sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars for their licenses with Toyota or whoever for a dealership. And now Amazon's going to be able to deliver a car right to your door by a drone, and you won't even have to, worry about going through a dealer. Is that fair? Will we all become clerks of, clerks and managers of Amazon? And there'll be 3 companies: Amazon, AT&T, and I don't know, GM or something in the world in about 50 years. People are worried about that. So I don't know if you have thoughts about that, but that's what antitrust tries to address. So anyway. But we got, we had this legislation passed to try to at least make it fair for people to compete without there being, unfairness in the way companies deal with one another, and certain tying arrangements, like if you want to buy a computer, then you have to buy a printer too, and otherwise you can't get a computer. And that way HP could have cornered the market on computers and printers.
Or like what Microsoft did.
Yeah. Microsoft, right, with Windows. If you want to buy Windows, you have to buy our computer with it. Or I know they did it with their Netscape, their Explorer product. That's exactly right. In 1982, the government split up AT&T and said they were a monopoly. Split them up into several Bell companies, and they were looking at GM and IBM too at the same time. They were thinking maybe we should split up all 3 of these companies: AT&T, GM, and IBM. And they only chose to split up AT&T. But look at what happened to telecom. I mean, ever since they split up AT&T, there's been all sorts of competition in telecom. Mobile phones immediately started, from the brick phone all the way down to now small phones have just proliferated everywhere. But yet IBM stayed really fat and lazy, and then Microsoft and Intel, all these companies kind of broke off of them to get rid of the laziness, and now you have kind of this IBM that gave up a lot of their patents. And then, can you hold on just a minute? Why is she bringing a chair upstairs?
Jose, get back here.
What kind of chair is it, honey? Yeah, she can take that. Just help her up. Can you help her up the stairs with it? And then, GM, American cars weren't that great in the early 80s. And because they didn't break up General Motors, our cars didn't compete very well. The 80s and 90s were terrible for American cars, and still until American cars started fixing themselves, getting with it. But had they broken up General Motors, which owned just about a huge percentage of the car market, American car market, they might have gotten more competition going. The Teslas could have started earlier. I don't know, things could have spun out of that, similar to IBM, similar to AT&T, which did wonders for the telecom market. Now you might argue, on the other hand, you might say, well, yeah, but look at what happened to AT&T. You broke it up, and now all that's happened is all these 7 baby Bells, the Bell companies, just all of a sudden came together, and now you have AT&T back together again. But at least during that process of them all kind of combining and recombining again, you have amazing smartphones. And now, I mean, more people have access in the world to smartphones than they do toilets, indoor toilets. More smartphones are manufactured every day than toothbrushes. And so telecom has, you could argue that because of antitrust laws splitting a company up like that and saying you will now compete in 7 different companies with each other and fight for the best price and, you know, lower prices for consumers and really invent things and try to compete and make inventions, you know, that created a mobile phone, you know, phenomenon. But I don't know how you feel about that, because it sounds like you know a lot about economics, Peter. Maybe as an economist, you would say, no, Adam Smith, you know, the invisible hand, that's what rules. You let the market do what it's going to do, and it will get rid of the AT&Ts. It will naturally kill big fat lazy companies if they're going to be that fat and lazy, like it did with GM and IBM. They will find a way to ruin themselves if you let them be fat and lazy long enough. So I don't know. It's an argument, right? It's who wins. I don't know.
Invisible hand decide.
Yeah. You know, it's a good point. I mean, I work for Intel, which, you know, had it not been for IBM being fat and lazy, I wouldn't be here. They were so fat and lazy in the 80s that Intel said, okay, if you're not going to build an integrated circuit, then we will. And IBM, you know, basically let Intel and Microsoft be born because they were too lazy to do it themselves. And so your argument of invisible hand worked for us. Whereas other people, like in the telecom industry, would say, were it not for AT&T being physically broken up by Judge Green in 1982 through antitrust law, we would have never had smartphones the way we do today. So, but maybe they'd be even better today had AT&T stayed big and fat and lazy, and the invisible hand would have just worked its miracle. So I don't know, you might have an argument, but there's your legal argument, Peter. You know, you just say, hey, let the invisible hand rule. And I think you'd find a lot of people on your side of that equation. But there are a lot of people that would say, look at what Amazon's doing to mini malls, and look at what Amazon's doing to, you know, Walmart and to Google even. People search for their Christmas shopping on Google and they don't buy it there. They look and they see what they want to get Peter for Christmas, and then they run to Amazon and they go buy it on Amazon. And Google is complaining now to the federal government, to the Trade Commission, saying, we want you to force people who use our search engine to at least buy part of their goods on our search, not just use us for search, but to buy and not go to then Amazon and buy. And it's funny, you know, why didn't you set up Google like that then if you wanted them to buy something there? So I don't know. I'll quit talking, but it's such an antitrust, I find, is really interesting to me. So that's what you get to look forward to in the next fun exam. But I did just extend the date of the appeal to next Wednesday instead. And are there any other things that we need to extend, do you think? Like, do you think people can finish their quiz question by Wednesday or Saturday, or should we extend that?
That's something I don't know. My group is meeting up tomorrow morning, and I'm going to be insistent on getting it done tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Maybe I'll watch for that, and I'll send out a note to everybody maybe on that one and the case presentations, and just say, look, if you don't get them in by Saturday, I'll extend, you know, those two as well. But I think I'll wait until, what I'll do is I'll wait until after your group is met, just so you can be insistent. And then if it doesn't work for you, then I'll send a note out and we'll see if we can give people more time. But
I forgot, how many groups are there on like Thursday, who meet up on Thursday. Like I know there is Monday, Tuesday. I didn't know if you had any on Thursday. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think most are Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but there are two groups that I think meet not on Thursday. They meet like Friday. One or two groups meet on Friday, I think. They even wait till like the last day. So a little worried about them, but I'll send out an email and I'll just say, look, because it's the holiday, I'm going to be extra helpful to you, but we don't want to get too far behind on our quiz stuff, so don't put it out too far, but we will. I do need to give people a chance. So anyway, if I don't get anybody really seriously complaining, then we'll keep those two. We'll keep the presentations and the quiz the same date as it is, but as of right now, the appeal has been moved to Wednesday of next week.
Okay.
At 8 a.m., by the way, so because it was Monday at 8 a.m., so I'm just moving it 2 days forward. All right, anything else, Peter?
I don't have any questions this week, so
Okay.
I'm today.
Okay, well, next week we'll then go over the, maybe we'll start looking at exam 5 then and start giving some hints there. And then we're getting kind of down to brass tacks. We're starting to get close to the end here, so.
How many more weeks are we going to be meeting up? Even the final week, or are you cutting it off to like? I don't have my calendar in front of me. Just until like the end of the last exam.
Yeah, probably just like probably offer to meet maybe next week and the week after, and if people just want to call me during mid that kind of that second week of December, if they have any questions they can. But I think the final is going to be pretty straightforward. It's just a fact pattern. Peter was walking down the street, got hit by a rock, turned around, threw the rock back, it hit an airplane that then crashed. All these people then drowned, but as they drowned, they hit a boat that floated down the river and hit a bridge that then collapsed, and 3 skyscrapers fell that were uninsured, and all these things happen, and you have to decide, was that a tort? What property right? Was there an antitrust claim? Was an intellectual property, guy was inventing something and it got lost, and was the patent still? It's not really that complicated, but you'll kind of be able to spot issues, and just then there'll be multiple choice questions is all about it. You don't have to spot the issues, you just have to answer the multiple choice questions, like when the skyscraper fell because of the stone that did this, did the intellectual property, was it being filed? Is there is it a patent? Is it a copyright? Is it a whatever? And you'll see it's not rocket science, but you'll be able to note that through all these terrible fact patterns, I think it'll pull the class together, and you'll say, wow, there could be a lot of legal issues that all of a sudden exist through a simple rock being thrown that turns into all this other junk. And that's kind of the point of the rock. It'll also disgust you, and you'll probably go away thinking, man, our American society is sure litigious, and I wish I lived in another country, but that's a different story. So, but that's kind of the way we've developed here, just to make sure we're politically correct. And if we get touched on the shoulder, the assault charge is then made, and you go to jail for 5 years. So, hopefully we can rectify some of this imperfect system as you guys become more aware of how far down the road we've gone the wrong way, and we can right some of this stuff as long as you're aware of it. All right, well, have a good night, and thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, Peter.